So now that we're looking at 2019 in the rearview mirror, it's time to take a look to see how the real estate market did, how the predictions turned out, and what 2020 might just look like. So sit back, relax, hit that like button, and let's get to it. Okay, first we're going to very quickly recap December, as it's frankly not a very exciting month in the real estate world. Our year-over-year numbers look pretty good here, and it looks like we're back in line with trends that we've seen over the last 5 years. And given that last year was a bit of a weak one, it's nice to see a return to form here. Now, looking at the numbers, our oversupplied market continues to trend in the right direction, which is helping to stop the price bleeding that's been plaguing us for some time now. We can see this in effect when we look at the citywide benchmark pricing, and it was just a hair lower than last month's, and the average time to sell at about 66 days remained consistent with our expectations. It may have still slipped a little bit, but it's close to being flat, which at this point, hey, let's call that a win for today. Oh, quick side note, lowered prices aren't all bad news. Yes, like many of you, I've also been affected by the lower prices. However, an easier path to home ownership via lower prices will only help the next generation of homeowners get into the market, which will serve us all by further balancing where the equity lies. Too much consolidation, whether we're talking companies or even generations of home buyers, is never a good thing. But I digress. Okay, with that quick December recap out of the way, let's take a look at the big picture of Calgary as a whole in 2019. So, while the first half of 2019 was a slow start and a decline from the year before, those price declines, lower mortgage rates, and improvements in employment all helped to create some growth and demand for the city. And this ultimately helped lead us to a much stronger second half of the year, which was actually able to catch us up to the year before, resulting in actually about a 1% growth in sales compared to last year. Now, that being said, overall, we saw a decline in pricing by about 3%. According to the city's properties assessment, this worked out to be about a $20,000 decline for the median single-family home and about a $10,000 decline for the median residential condo. Now, those median numbers are a great way to get a snapshot of the market. However, you're likely to get a much different story depending on what price range your property is. Let's start with the detached. Have a single-family home under $500,000? Well, you'll be happy to hear we saw a 9% jump in the number of sales last year. Now, what about if your home is over that $500,000 mark? Well, I'm sorry to say, sales dropped by about 11% in 2019. Digging a bit deeper, if we break it down district by district, we can actually see that most areas actually remained relatively stable or saw a slight pullback in sales. The exceptions were actually the city center and northwest districts that actually managed to pull off sales growth for the year. Fortunately, when we look at inventory levels here, other than the city center and northwest districts, we did see supply levels decrease, which of course helps to combat our oversupply problem. Now, over in the attached market, so townhomes, row homes, villas, that kind of thing, the attached market was actually the biggest reason we ended up squeaking ahead of 2018 sales levels. Our annual sales jumped by nearly 7% compared to the year before, for a total of just under 3,800 sales in 2019. Now, unfortunately, the increased sales didn't stop the overall price declines from hitting us here too, with again roughly about a 3% drop overall, bringing the average semi-detached home to an average price of $388 and the average row housing to about $283. Now, these numbers are well below previous highs, unfortunately. But hey, increased sales is increased sales, and that's not a bad thing at all. Stronger apartment style sales in December were enough to push annual levels to 2,671 units. Now, for comparison, while we did beat 2018 here, we did it by the skin of our noses with only 10 more sales total for the entire year. Now, new listings continued to ease across all districts except for the southeast. This district has seen a rise in new home construction, which is helping to contribute to the rise in new listings and inventory. But if we ignore the southeast district, easing supply levels relative to the sales have helped reduce some of the oversupply in this segment. Now, in a quick second here, we're going to take a look at who is the least accurate and most accurate for predictions in 2019. We're going to see the most expensive home and the least expensive home sold in all of 2019. We're going to take a look at what the future could hold for us. But first, let's take a look at the numbers. Okay, so I thought we'd have a little bit of fun here and take a look and see what the most and least expensive homes sold in all of 2019 were. Now, quick editor's note here, we are only looking in the Calgary region and we're not including mobile homes or land sales, as those would both take top and bottom spots. Now, our 2019 most expensive home sold is located on Crescent Road in the south end of Crescent Heights, and this gorgeous nearly 7,000 square foot home sold for a cool $6 million flat. Now, what about the least expensive home? Surprisingly, the winner was not an apartment. It was actually a 1,200 square foot row home in Canyon Meadows, which barely tipped the sales with a final sale price of only $80,000. Now, obviously this home was a foreclosure, but I suspect there's either a very happy first-time buyer or a very happy investor on the other side of that transaction. And if you're curious, currently our most expensive listing at time of filming is listed for $10 million in the West Springs community, and the least expensive is a 366 square foot downtown condo with an asking price of $99,000. And you can find both of those along with every other listing for sale at our website, michaelsmithteam.ca, or with the link down below. Now, I think it's fair to say we all enjoy making predictions in life, and this industry is no different. So let's see who nailed it and who missed the boat entirely. Okay, so out of all the predictions I was able to find, it looks like we have about a two-way tie for the most accurate, with both Royal LePage CEO and the Krebs forecast predicting a 2.3% decline in home values over 2019, which of course was actually still a bit shy. Our actual decline was closer to 3%. But what about the least accurate? Well, I certainly can't fault the optimism here, but the worst prediction award goes to Remax, who optimistically predicted the housing prices would be flat compared to 2018. And although they completely missed the mark, I imagine there are a lot of homeowners that wish they were right on this one. So what does the old crystal ball say about 2020? Well, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corp, or CMHC, expects home sales will actually increase by about 5.5% this year, resulting in prices moving up by about 1% by their estimation by year's end. Remax, again being the optimist, is expecting a much more solid home value growth of 3.7%. Their belief is that an uptick in first-time buyers and an overall population increase in Calgary will both help to push that. And they're not entirely wrong. We have actually seen a trend of net migration increasing in Calgary, and that's never a bad thing. So, what's the bottom line? Well, we had a pretty rough start to 2019 by almost every metric. But by the end of the year, we made a strong recovery that saw us creep just ahead of 2018's numbers, even if it was by a razor-thin margin. With a little bit of luck, we'll see a continuation of this momentum that we've seen slowly building, which should see confidence return, ultimately putting this whole downturn in the rearview mirror. My name is Michael Smith. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to always have somebody looking out for your best interests.